managed to make the gameplay always legible. You always can see what you're doing. You always can tell what the next jump down the track is. So if you guys play Rock Band Blitz, you should thank him.
So one of the problems that we came up with was, now that the pre-Blitz project had become a bona fide Rock Band title, was that we really had to uphold a lot of expectations that franchise had created. And one thing that we were especially concerned with was the unique feel, the tactile feel of all the plastic instruments, and trying to recreate that on a gamepad controller is no easy feat. Here are several mock-ups that we made of actually instrument-specific control schemes that, so as you would move across the tracks, you'd actually be doing something slightly different with the controller to simulate the instrument. For example, for the guitar, you would do something where you would simulate holding a string and then plucking by holding down the analog stick to the left and then pressing A to pluck. So that was kind of a weird control scheme. And here is a version of the keyboards that was prototyped in the early game, where you would have three controls, left, right, and A, simulating different keys on sort of a keyboard of sorts.
So then we showed it to people.
People were fine as long as they stayed in one lane and they could get like the groove of what they were doing. But it was kind of like if you were to run around a stage and just pick up every instrument, play two notes on it, throw it down, run to the next. After a point, like the challenge shifted to just training your muscle memory reflexes between one or the other, and not the actual gameplay.
So after all these sort of instrument-specific shenanigans, we decided just to kind of revert to a simple, uniform control scheme, which was a lot like tapping on your steering wheel. So you would use your thumbs to play left and right lanes, and it was very simple, very ergonomic. It created a lot less strain on your index fingers for the shoulder buttons, so that the project leads fingers wouldn't cramp up or anything like that. And we liked this one. It tested well, but we know that control scheme is not for everyone, so we included a few other ones in the ship game, and so you're happy. You can try them out on the show floor when you play the game.
Frequency.
So now that we had decided upon a simple control scheme, things were looking good, but it created some other interesting design problems that Nard can talk about.
So we had two lanes, but obviously Rock Band has 5, and we have to convert the song files. So we call this process blitzification. And we actually started the process with our audio lead, who is also, I guess, a nascent programmer who wrote a Python script and actually processed the MIDI files in his audio workstation, and we would try them out in the game. And when we decided that that was good enough, we would hand it to the programmers who would actually implement it in the game. And we went through a number of different iterations, and it ended up being, I think, very successful. Like, the amount of musicality that you get out of the two lanes is really very good. So we created this 2-lane gameplay, and I think it was very musical, but it did raise a couple of other issues now that we had settled on it. So here's an artist who possibly know about. So this is the same section of song 4 times with 4 different difficulties. This is easy, which even for somebody who never played a match game before is incredibly boring. There's simply not enough going on the tracks. So here's medium again. I don't think anyone is going to be entertained by playing a 4-minute song with this many notes on it. So this is getting there. We found that when there were more notes, people actually did better at beat matching because they could maintain the rhythm and get the mood of the song. And then when we get to expert, I think is where we actually got to a place where it felt really musical. And we're hitting almost every note, for example, in the vocal tracking on the guitars.
Hope you guys like Jonathan Holden.
So once we realized this, one of the programmers at Harmonix who's working on Blitz proposed that we completely remove the difficulty. Now, this is my role as a project director, and this is you sort of have to be a benevolent dictator because design by committee doesn't work. But the fact is that you also can't be too precious about your ideas, and so although I thought it was an awful idea, we all agreed that we should totally playtest a single difficulty and make it as difficult as we thought we could and make it musicality.
So, when talking about the playtest at Harmonix, we have a very scientific process. Passes through 2 gates of evaluation, and we video broadcast all the sessions out to our desks so we can watch them and inquire about people's various clothing choices and also brainstorm solutions. So first we play test with the developers themselves, and they see all of our super buggy prototypes. But especially if they're not working on the game, they can give really good feedback. So then we put it through iteration, and we iterate out all of the really egregious stuff, and then we go back and have with actual non-developer players. This is where we get most of our really big deal feedback. A lot of the stuff that we're used to ignoring are huge glaring issues to people that are seeing the game for the first time. And it gives us an opportunity to try and understand what the game looks like and feels like through their eyes. So throughout the process, we continually revisit the questions what feelings is this supposed to hit? Is the game getting there for people? Is the scoring as rewarding as we hope it to be? Is the environment immersive? Do people feel the music? So there's a lot going on when people play a game like this, especially beat matches a lot of cognitive sparks. There's musicality, dexterity, playfield management, and when those skills are arranged differently in the gameplay, different skills kind of come out from the same players. So in previous iterations, most players' skills and comfort levels tended to converge around this musically significant vanishing point, which you can kind of see looking through the easy, medium, hard, and expert versions of that same track. There's easy, there's nothing going on. People are kind of moving around from track to track just to find something to do. And the notes feel kind of random. It's just kind of one there, here, over here. So somewhere around the middle, there's a happy medium between what musically people really want to feel and what skills they have to wield.
So basically, the playtest results came back, and I was somewhat chagrined. We did end up shipping with a single difficulty, and I think it was exactly the right choice.
So we had another problem kind of hanging over from the pre-Blitz era, and that was the middle layer, which we weren't quite sure what it was going to be. We knew that a lot of people liked the Rock Band Unplugged style track locking, but I wasn't quite sure that was the right direction, so we had to replace it with something we just didn't know what.
And we knew we did need something in this middle layer. So once you strip the note charts down to this simplified 2-lane form, it's a lot harder to hang your game on the experience of musical performance. It leaves a hole you have to fill with something else. We actually faced this years ago in Phase. That game had similarly low-density note charts. So to keep the game's challenge and intensity up, we added rules where you needed to achieve a certain number of stars for each checkpoint. You could run out of health if you didn't achieve those goals. And it worked. It replaced, it supplemented the musicality of the notes with additional gameplay.
So in the past, we dealt with a lot of these issues with plate spinning and track locking. But these mechanics have always been a little problematic for players. Most people's initial reaction is, I cannot possibly hit all those notes. For other people, the locking and subsequent disappearance of tracks that they played well on kind of felt more like a punishment than a reward. And even for people that fully understood every element of the mechanic, they always felt like there was this secret, hidden strategy that they would be able to uncover. But there really wasn't. You can memorize tracks and you can squeeze scores, but other than that, they were doing it right. They just it worked.
So a lot of folks at Harmonix had the mentality that track locking was fine. It says we didn't need to do anything about it. We could just bring it forward for Rock Band Blitz. But I wanted to question that and see if we could evolve that to something even better. Particularly, I thought that the track locking gameplay created too much of a pattern of optimal pathing, where you had to play exactly the right notes and with perfect flawlessness. Instead, I wanted something that was a lot more free-form and potentially more accessible, because the track locking was rather hardcore in its nature. I wanted to be able to give players the ability to both play beat match and also strategize and use power-ups and things like that. So here is a very early prototype of one of the middle layer games that we set up. this is one of the failed prototypes, and it's all about boosting your band multiplier, which is shown on the bottom as 3x right now. As you charge each track, it gets colored in and it adds 1 to the multiplier. So this is good. Notice that as you charge tracks, the notes don't go away. This isn't the track locking model. But there was something missing. Players couldn't quite figure out what the goals were when we played tested.
And as our QA lead said, why did we ever stop using lavender tracks?
Okay, so this is a much later prototype that we had where it is all about individual track multiplier, which is shown on the left. You can see each instrument has its own individual multiplier. When you play enough notes on a track, it boosts up the level of the track, and then you can boost all the way up to the level cap, which is indicated on the left as 4x. So you're trying to boost up all the tracks, balance your play across all the tracks. Eventually you get to these checkpoints that are across the track. Here's a good one now. Okay, so when you hit a checkpoint, you can actually boost up the level cap, so you can push the potential of all your tracks. And this has an interesting tension that it creates in the song. As you go forward, you can reach these really insane multipliers. By the end of the song, you have 25x or something like that, and it really creates tension. Each note counts that much more.
Playtesters, let's see. So here's the first version of Brian's description, followed by the second.
It
was Halloween, so he's wearing a wizard
How do I choose a direction? You can. No, it doesn't matter what direction I go. No, that's where it feels most comfortable. I don't get much feedback on this play. Do you know why your multiplier went up there? When at the end? Yeah. I'm assuming I got jumping around. Maybe because I jumped to all the different tracks and I'm getting 0. Okay. But I didn't notice that. I like that. I jumped around to different tracks, but I didn't really know why I go to tracks. I just fly around. Okay.
Audio removed for licensing reasons.
What song do you
Title of song removed for licensing reasons.
There was a lot going on, and I couldn't necessarily determine the objectives. But that didn't necessarily matter because it was still really fun, and there was enough going on that, it kind of got the idea of at least what I was trying to do. I got the how do you get the point of multipliers? And it still hasn't totally worked out necessarily what my objective at all points in playing through a song are in terms of maximum scoring. But I was starting to kind of get a feel for it.
So that was after his first song, whereas the other guy was after his last of an hour or something playing. It was a pretty big change. So once these things changed, a lot of the player anxiety about where to hit, what to do, kind of dissolved. No one really sat on one lane or frantically searched around for more meaning than was present. People who were searching for an overarching strategy felt a lot more confident that whatever strategy they had developed was solid, which it usually was. So, middle layer.
So now that we'd replaced the track locking gameplay with this track leveling gameplay, we effectively solved the strategy problem. And we basically we felt it was pretty rich gameplay, and we wanted to create more rich gameplay by implementing more of the power-ups that Chris talked about earlier in the Blitz era. I'm deliberately not going to talk about power-ups because part of the fun is discovering them and experimenting with them and trying to figure stuff out. But you can try a few of them on the show floor today because we're going to demo the game.
So children, what have we learned?
So, game design is iterative. It's rare that you come in with a master plan for your game. More likely you come in with goals, and then you make a long series of creative decisions to discover the best game possible.
learning which of those is the case is often very hard, and that's why playtesting is so incredibly important.
Design and playtest are friends. Make something, see how it works, go back to the drawing board. Eventually the right thing will come out.
Speaking of which, we are using you guys as our personal guinea pigs as we test the game on the show floor. The game is in its last days, and we're now just focusing on polish and balance.
So please come by the booth, play the game, tell us what you think. We want to thank the team who's worked really, really hard on this game for quite a while. It's come a long way, and it's really exciting to go back and see these old videos and just see how far we've come. So that's all we have for today. We're happy to take questions if you guys have it. Thank you all very much for coming. Yes.
I was playing this game yesterday and I loved it. One feature that I loved about Rock Band Unplugged was the wraparound feature, and we're wondering if that might come into play at all.
It's in the code, but it's turned off right now. I actually lobbied for it. That was another case where I got shot down based on playtesting data and the general consensus of the team. But that's one of those we make hundreds of little decisions like that all the time, and it just that one probably will make the cut. Yes. I don't know who to call next. Here, you go ahead up here.
All right. Yeah. About the
What was the second thing?
It was,
Well, all right.
we should repeat the question. The question was, what's better, rapid prototyping or working from a game design document?
Go ahead.
I think,
Oh, that would be great, actually.
thank you.
Well, answer this.
Yeah, for my answer, as you're saying, we use a lot fail fast and fun. So rapid prototyping is often the best way of getting an idea.
A lot better because now we'll be able to hear them.
Like when I started my career as a designer, I always built these huge documents, and now I'm totally in the rapid prototyping camp. Is that on?
So one thing to know about Blitz is that the background where you're going to get a slot right on the venue playing.
It's gone. And I'm curious about the feedback you got from your playtesting team about, like you guys have talked about how can you get the most musical experience. I think one of the things I've enjoyed with rock band games is that I feel like I'm on stage, and do you feel that that's been taken away somewhat by the love the visuals in the background as the game's going on?
Well, if you look at the scene that you're kind of going through, you're driving down a road, and if you think back to the metaphor of like kind of drumming on your steering wheel, it's almost like you're listening to music on your way to the club, and like the environment kind of supports that.
We also found that since it's more a single player game than Rock Band, people were tending to concentrate on the note tracks more, whereas in Rock Band sometimes you have long sections where you're not playing, and so that's when you tend to look at the venue and stuff.
But it is, I think, a conscious choice. I think that, playing all the instruments, like playing on a controller, it's less about that fantasy of being a rock star, so it felt like it was a safer place to sort of explore almost an arcade presentation.
I played the game yesterday, and I did one of the songs with the big rock endings, and noticed they aren't in the game. How do you guys do the blitzification for the songs with big rock endings where you don't necessarily have a chart to translate from?
Excellent question. So the answer is that we secretly chart the expert tracks for guitar and bass because they're used to control the animations in Rock Band, and we use the animation data from the drummer to drive the drum track, and the vocals get nothing.
Hey guys, first question, pretty much only question. I noticed that it's kind of starting with Rock Band 3 leaning more towards competitive leaderboard-wise, less head-to-head competitive. And I work at a store where we do a lot of tournament gameplay, and we used to do Rock Band head-to-head guitar, and now we can't necessarily do that anymore. Is maybe there any possibility of getting a downloadable title or just head-to-head? Like a single track guitar to guitar?
You mean for like a Rock Band head-to-head mode?
Yeah.
I think probably not. Like, we looked at a bunch of playtest data and achievement data from our servers on Rock Band 1 and 2. Did we have head-to-head in Rock Band 2? I think we cut it for Rock Band 2, is that right?
It was score duel.
It was in 2. So we found that it was a vanishingly small number of people who played the head-to-head stuff, and that was the reason that we decided not to support it.
That said, we're really interested in like in-room multiplayer, couch multiplayer, and we still think that's important to us. And obviously it's important to some of our fans. So we're looking at that for future products, of course.
All right. Thank you.
Let me ask you something.
In
terms of the social aspects of the games, were you inspired by your Japanese counterparts and the way they implemented similar features in different games? I'm talking about Konami's EMUs in the arcades, where you pick rivals and you start taking down their scores, or in that sort of fashion. It's more score-centric versus having fun like in Rock Band as always. Or did you go into a radically new direction in terms of interacting with your friends and going competitive?
You would take that, right? Sure. I'm not sure I'm familiar with the games that you're talking about.
It's mostly like the Bomani series, like the ones that Konami's put out. In their arcades, they have what's called the amusement, which allows you to pick certain friends that you add, and then based on whatever scores they get, you're able to top their scores, and they're notified.
Sure. We were mostly inspired by what's kind of going on in social gaming and other spaces like that, which use your existing social graph, for example, like games on Facebook and the like. Obviously, social gaming has other origins than that, so it could be coincidence that there's some similarities there.
All right.
When I saw the visuals of sort of the city popping up with the music, I was really reminded of Michel Gondry's video for Star Guitar, and I was curious if that was like a direct influence.
That's a great question. I joined the company partway through the development of Phase, and I was shown at some point, actually dug through the archives and did a talk on that game. And one of the inspirations for that game, and a version that we didn't ship, was the Star Guitar video. And in that one, so there was a version of Phase where as you played, the city would build up off to the sides, and I think that eventually we looped all the way back to that on pre-Blitz. So yeah, that's been a really inspiring work for us.
And we're all big fans of Gondry, and a lot of his music videos have that sort of similar theme of the relationship between the musical world and the world around you, so we're always looking at those.
Thanks. That's like my all-time favorite music video, Seychelles.
As a classic amplitude/frequency player for the PS2, I played Blitz, and I was a little disorientated because I was so used to the certain instruments being on certain colors. I was wondering if maybe you couldn't match the colors up exactly right because it was a copyright issue, because I think the drums were like red in amplitude, and then the guitar was, the vocals were green, so I was wondering why it was changed up.
We actually made that choice to match the Rock Band guitar green on the left and orange on the right to match the Rock Band fretboard.
Okay. So it looks like the fretboard. Okay. Cool. I'm limited to one question, right? It's okay. I'll get in the back. Have fun.
Curious, how many refinements of the specification algorithm gone through, and do you think you might have to refine it even more after post-launch when new DLC comes out?
There's always the possibility that some DLC track will show up as horribly broken, because although our valiant quality assurance gentlemen have gone through very, very many of the songs, there's no possibility, especially since we continue to release every week, that it won't break in the future. I think it's gone through 3 major iterations and, dozens and dozens of changes along the way. But right now, we haven't found any cases where it doesn't handle the music quite well, so I'm pretty confident that we're in good shape.
So even Raining Blood's fine, because I saw the live stream, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and there are several RBN tracks that have a single track and handles that pretty well. Some non-standard instruments and so forth. So far so good.
Sweet, thanks.
Where do you see the more traditional instrument-based rock band gameplay going on into the future? Because Blitz is certainly a great concept, and I'm glad to bring back obviously been a while since we've had an iteration on the old world touring concept with 5-way gameplay.
Yeah, there's still a vibrant community of people who love and play Rock Band 3 all the time, and we have a super robust DLC-like library and a community who loves the weekly releases. So we don't see this as a replacement for the instrument and peripheral stuff. We see this as a complement to it. The whole point of using your songs in another way was part of the driver of this, to let people use their libraries and experience the music again. So I think that sort of gameplay is likely to continue sometime in the future. We don't have any specific plans right now, but
yeah, obviously, yeah.
But yeah, this is not intended to replace that lineage of games at all.
Yeah, because obviously the RB3 DLC we did, and was talking one day along the line might be something that was out of the RB.
How's it going, guys?
Hello. Well, one thing that was bothering me about the beginning of the presentation, I saw that the early prototypes looked very similar to games that you guys made, like Frequency and Amplitude, which made me wonder why you guys chose to go with the Rock Band name, because I think in doing that, you guys alienate a lot of different genres of music that both Frequency and Amplitude had, which was nice. It was nice to be able to play, go from a rock song to techno or trance or anything like that. I feel like it adds a lot to the experience. I was wondering why you guys would choose rock over, such a wide variety of music.
Well, that's a fair question. I think that was a conscious choice to use our library of songs. And, there are a few dozen songs that were released with Frequency and Amplitude and several thousand that were released with Rock Band. So we got the advantage of having that enormous library from day one. Whereas if we had gone in a new direction with a new type of music, we would have had to go through the process of licensing it and authoring it and releasing it. And the people who had all that DLC already wouldn't have the benefit of being able to play it right away.
But it's a fair point, because it was definitely a trade-off. There are genres of music that aren't represented in Rock Band, and those earlier games work really well. But I think overall, just the advantage of having so much music you already own, makes it in this game really made overall.
Do you guys think that you might ever offshoot into a direction like that, into another genre of music in the future, a similar game?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know if we have released a pretty wide variety of music in Rock Band, and it's always possible. I can't answer that specifically.
It's actually kind of an interesting question. If this game really turns out, it'll affect the direction of the DLC we consider for the future.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I just had a quick question about your process is so iterative about just, you're talking about completed prototypes and testing. I was just curious if, because that process is so iterative, do your teams focus on one product at a time until you feel like it's perfect, or are you constantly juggling multiple products and multiple release dates?
Remember the picture of plate spinning? It's definitely kind of like that. There's definitely multiple projects in development in the studio. Within a project, there are usually multiple tough problems trying to be solved in parallel. And I think I actually worked with Jillian and your team on just the playtesting schedule of how we grind through all this stuff. And it was a pretty colorful strategy map of
And Chris has his hands in his fingers in every